Grand Rising, everyone. We are in the house and we are just going to have a simple discussion on reparations and Democrats because that is where we lie at in the Black community. Like, what is going on with us? You know, are we still voting Democrat and are we still looking for reparations? We are in here with Mind Games Uncut,
Peace, peace.
and we are here with the beautiful, lovely Queen Angie.
What's going on?
And we have Lynn Black Love, and I think Kathy B, of course. She's working, so she might not jump on yet. And then we also have Pablo, so we waiting for the other ones. They might come in, but we'll continue this discussion.
Greetings, Earthlings. Warning, the following program contains strong Black First opinion about mature and strong subject matter that affects Black America and the diaspora as a whole. Listen at your own risk, you sissy.
Grand Rising All. You are listening to the one and only Be One or None. Good morning from Africatown, Los Angeles.
Okay, we're here. We're here. So let's just get into it. Reparations, Democrats and Republicans. We have the Black community on the sideline. What do y'all have to say about this subject? Are we still voting Democrat and are we still hyped for reparations? What you got to say, Mind Games? Or-
Well, yeah. I just been sitting back for a while, just listening to a lot of people in different rooms like TikTok, YouTube. My thing is, we're not doing what we're supposed to do to get reparations. We're not really, like I said, we talk about super PAC. We don't even have, we don't even have Black people coming together to build super PACs to get the funds, get the politicians we need to get it. I mean, real Dana that be on, real Dana that be with Judge O'Brown. She broke it down one time. She said, "Yeah, I'm FBA all day, but we got to be real. We're not doing what we're supposed to do to get it. Like far as you got to go to the white man and get it. I hear we're gonna get it, but you got to go through these white people. First off, you don't have nobody to really represent. You don't have any representation to go out there in the Senate, the House, the government period to even push it for us. I know California had their thing, but we need people on a local level and a federal level. I don't hear Black people talking about voting for certain people into office so we can build them up from a local level to get them on a federal level, you know what I'm saying, to push reparations. The Democrats just saying they're going to give reparations because they know it's the talk amongst Black Americans. So they're like, we're going to tell them that, but we know we're not going to promise them anything. Republicans be straight up with you. They don't care. So I heard one guy, he mentioned it, but still, at the end of the day, all of them on code. They don't care because they know Black people are not organized. So you got to keep it real. We're not when it comes to stuff like that. Every other group is well organized. They got all kind of foundations and groups like APAC. The Jews got APAC. You know what the Asians got. The Indians got their groups and stuff. We got Congressional Black Caucus, but they all mixed up because they different kind of Black people, immigrants and stuff like that. So I'm gonna play this real quick. Let me hold on. Damn, I just had let me get the one I just should have on just for a second. I got two of them, but let me play this one.
okay.
On. If anybody should have gotten reparations, it should be them. So what do we do now? You can keep whining and fighting for it, but I am telling you, the left is showing you better than they can tell you that you ain't getting no reparations based on how they're treating you in your own communities with these migrants, these illegal aliens, the ones who are not supposed to be here, undocumented. The left is showing you just how much of a reparation check you're not going to get because they're scrounging trying to figure out how to serve them and love on them. Now, you don't have to like it, but you need to prove me wrong because it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have in place that we say, well,
Oh.
what bargaining chips do we have?
Yeah, here.
We have none.
Yes.
We can't go to any government and say, hey, they're treating us wrong. They're not paying us our reparations. We can't enforce anything. We have no bargaining chips. Black Americans will never receive reparations because we have no system or no mechanism in place to reinforce consequences for not paying reparations. Now, a lot of Black people point to the Japanese Americans receiving reparations and a lot of other nations receiving reparations because I want you to understand something. These other nations have a system in place, have a government in place that can affect the American economy, that can affect trade deals, that if reparations aren't paid, things can get out of whack. So like, for instance, the Japanese, if they could say, the Japanese government can say, well, if you don't pay reparations to our citizens, we're going to back out of this trade agreement. If you don't pay reparations to our people, we're going to stop exports and imports. There's political, global, economic, and governmental ramifications for not paying reparations owed. They say, oh, the Jews receive reparations. Well, Israel is a major player in global politics and global economics. There's going to be consequences for not paying those reparations on a global scale, on a governmental scale. So what mechanism do we have in place that we can say, well, if you don't pay us reparations, we're going to do this? What bargaining chips do we have? We have none. We can't go to any government and say, hey, they're treating us wrong. They're not paying us our reparations. We can't enforce anything. We have no bargaining chips. It's just like if somebody owe you money and then you say, well, hey, man, you owe me that $20. When you going to pay me that $20? Oh, I'm not going to pay you. If you can't get your money from them, if you can't scare them, if you can't impact their life in some way, they're never going to pay you. And collectively, we have no system, no mechanism in place to implement consequences for unpaid reparations. None whatsoever. We can't go to Africa because we're not Africans. So we have no system, no government that's backing us. It's just us, and we're in this land. There's nothing that's going to give them the incentive to pay us. And if we're counting on them to be morally righteous, morally upright, that's a losing cause, okay? The governments and political parties and political power, they operate on power, and the enforcement of power. That's what it's about. It's not about morality. It's not about what you can say. You can't convince them. It's about the ability to enforce power and control and consequences. That's what people respond to. So if you don't have collectively a way that you can enforce consequences, you're never going to get it.
Yeah, and yeah, man, and that's why I'm saying. I've been saying this for a while. We don't have to deal with. We don't have no resources, so they're gonna laugh. But the Democrats, so they'll drag it out. But you don't have nothing to deal with. Every group got something to deal with. The Indians control hotel market. The Chinese, they control. I mean, from cars to technology. The Jews, Israel own America. So we don't have that. So we delineate ourselves from Africa. So yeah, so we don't have nothing. We don't have nothing to deal with. So what say you? What y'all got to think about that? I mean, to me, that's like it's you only way you can get it. You got to get powerful Black people in politics to move the needle, but we're not doing that because we're not putting money behind. Black people is not going to do nothing unless you put money behind them. Politicians, that's just how it works. That's the money game. So that's why I kind of sit back in the shadows and listen to everybody talking, but they're just talking because they know we have no resources. We have nothing. I'm not trying to shoot my people down. It's just real. And that brother, he broke it down the best way you can break it down. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he say nothing wrong. We'll see, y'all. I mean, I'm that's it. That's what I got.
Well, I'll say this is that we do have mechanisms. It's just that the mechanisms that we thought was going to be there for us that we poured into was the Democratic Party. And the
Facts.
Democratic Party didn't do it. So to say we're not organized, no, we are unlearned because our children, as today, I don't care how many STEM classes, I don't care how many nursing and law degrees we got. The problem is nobody is teaching us how to do a super PAC. We've said it on the show many, many times. We're talking now Me, you, nobody on our panel knows how to do a super PAC, and that's what I've been studying. We reached out. They don't want us to know how to gain that power. We used to have boycotts that made it work. That's how, when they say the Japanese are pulled back, but long as we keep getting comfortable being integrated, it's just that they have separated our needs and wants so much where we cannot get on one accord to boycott. We won't boycott sports. We won't boycott designer labels. So we have to get we won't. What are we going to boycott? Right now we're holding the Democratic Party. That's why when people say if you're against the Democratic Party you vote for Trump, no, we are holding the party responsible that we have been pouring our life into, our money and savings into, that should have been had a super PAC for us, that should be going around teaching us how to create super PACs and not just vote. We have more black people running around saying vote blue no matter who, but they used us without educating us so that they can prop up the next candidate. There's candidates all over. The Democratic Party should have been spitting out candidates that was for the black people. So now we are back at square one, and we have to just, like you say, we're not putting down our people, but our people, we have to be educators. Just like if you taught me to drive a car, you can teach me to drive a car all day, but when it run out of gas, did you teach me how to put gas back in it? Did you tell me the steps to go there? And that's where we're at. We have to start changing. It ain't just about voting. It's about getting a super PAC. It's about getting a party. It's about going to these HBCUs and these, and not just colleges in general. It's time to stop the colluding with black people because you have nowhere to go. So you just go to the white side and talk about your people and stuff. It's time to stop all the rigmarole, all the confusion, and settle down and let the dust settle and see what do we need to do. We do need a super PAC. We do need candidates. We can get reparations because we're giving reparations to people who are not even part of America. So why are we not doing it? Because the Democrats who we poured into did nothing for us, and we have to admit that. And then we need to start pushing people that go into these HBCUs, going out here. When you going out here talking about voting and all this stuff, no, teach us. Teach us how to do super PACs. Teach our children how to run for congressmen, because you only have to be 18 years old. You could be that governor. You could be that. You don't have to be a college educated person. We have to go ahead and put the rules out there for our people, because we look, our average everyday person, black person that goes to work, think that it's a far-fetched dream to become a mayor or a governor. But the problem is that we are not teaching our children that you can be the governor, the commissioner, the senator. They're not reaching for them goals. They're going to college and joining the fraternities. These fraternities should get involved. The places that we put our money into should be helping us get into a power place. So it's not that far fetched. It's just that they have us disorganized, and long as we keep blending in, interracial dating and crying for everybody else, we're gonna be behind. And I land my plane on that.
Oh, good points. D Mays just dropped off, y'all. Give him a second to come back in. I'll say this. I love the word. I love how you said unlearned. We're unlearned. And when it comes to the Democratic Party, think about this. Consider this. If we're focused on what the Democrats are not doing, what if, because what they are or not doing just makes it easier for the Republican Party to do or not do, and place the fault and the blame somewhere else? Because at the end of the day, like I've said it before, they all work for us. I don't care what party you are. So when we're looking at super PACs, we need to be looking at where we're not saying, well, let's get away from vote blue no matter who, but rather, that super PAC should look like a whole different independent party. And that goes for all of us voting. I don't care what your race, religion, color, creed, whatever it is. We should all understand that we're all in bondage with this government, and collectively
Yeah,
say that we need something outside of a two-party system that's got all of us messed up. So when you look at reparations, I want to read something real quick. So reparations can look like different things. Okay. And I don't know how a lot of Black people are looking at it and to where it's so far fetched for us collectively. But we're looking at a few things: direct financial payments, lump sum, however you want to do it, recurring payments, educational benefits, like you just talked about with HBCUs, home ownership, and the right to, have proper mortgages that are not obscene in interest rates, business investments, grants and loans and funding for Black businesses, healthcare initiatives, mental health, things in our communities to help our communities, community investments, funding for schools, infrastructure, public transportation, environmental cleanup. Look at Flint, Michigan. They still have dirty water, and they're banking off of that because now everybody's buying bottled water. What an investment! And tax incentives. All these different things. So when we're looking at reparations, we're not just talking about a check. There are so many aspects of receiving reparations that we need to think outside the box. And unfortunately, Black Love and I, Queen Lynn talked about this. And I hate to say it, I know we were all mad when Kamala Harris sat there cackling like a hyena. What? Do something for this Black people? No, I can't do. That's really where it's at right now. Because getting our educational, funding and grants and stuff like that. Sometimes it happens where if it means that we get ahead up, a step ahead because we're due it, somebody else probably will benefit from it. And it's sad because other ethnicities haven't had to go through that. But that's where we're at right now. Let's just keep it honest. And so now moving forward, how do we get, affordable education? That makes sense. How do we get funding for schools, Q Butter and Zayas Institute, to educate our children? How do we get the healthcare we need where our Black mothers aren't dying on the table, or dying of unnecessary diseases because of lack of treatment? Why do I have to try to buy a house and my white counterpart has to come in and step in for me to get a better rate? And all we're doing is putting that on TikTok. Now you're going down. Like I'm yelping all over the place with this, and we shouldn't be doing business with anybody that's not wanting to treat us right. But like you said, we keep wanting to buy the designer clothes and all the sporting goods, but they don't pay our way. They're helping us stay broke. I am not paying $1,000 for no ticket to sit on nobody's arena to watch anybody play any kind of sports, and you sitting on millions of dollars. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
And
But the con-
crazy part about it is when it comes to sports, that's like beating a dead horse. Black people, they so believe me. I know I like sports, but I know it's entertainment. I used to be one of them people that just can't wait for football season and stuff, but you're not gonna get them. They don't care. And I'm telling you, we practice individualism.
that-
That's the
yeah,
problem with Black people.
exactly. They
We
don't
when we
care
practice that.
because they see them getting, they see themselves getting their children, or somebody, they offering a breadcrumb, even though there's maybe 50 or 100 Black people making $1 million out of the NFL. Those are breadcrumbs compared to trillions and trillions of dollars. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
I mean by they have us so separate with our wants and needs that we can't focus on one boycott like we used to as a whole. And back to what Queen Lynn said, like when you said that, Queen, that it doesn't matter with this and that, the Democrat, we do hold them because that's where they're going around to our churches, our people, our children, and they're taking our tax money and they're pouring it into the Democratic Party. See, with the Republicans, they teach them to do super PACs so that they can back the candidates that they want. That's what a super PAC is for. So the Republicans, they have no problem whether you're Black or white, long as you just join them and jump on the bandwagon. The problem is that the Democrats have played everybody so that they can get ahead and get what they and get ahead on what they need and what they want by ignoring the Black struggle. I didn't mean to cut you off, D Mays. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna read it. So I got my glasses on. Bear with me, y'all. A super PAC is a political group that can raise and spend unlimited money, but cannot give money directly to candidates. Formerly known
Exactly.
as an independent expenditure only committee, it pools funds from people, companies, and unions to pay for ads, supporting or attacking political figures. Now we can do that. Now there's another thing I want to go at. Let's get to the Republican side. You got a lot of Black women and Black men that's running Republican now, especially in Chicago right now. It's a lot of black women. Dana C, that other sister, I forgot. She got hella support up in Chicago. Why we not supporting these type of candidates? Let's see what they're gonna do. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
We
the
gonna
thing is,
profile this.
we're not in Chicago, and that's the problem. Like when you broke down, we got state levels that we need to support, and we got federal. None of them are running for federal. That's the
Yeah,
difference.
exactly. She's running. I think she's running for Senate. I think, but
She
they're
might
not
be
doing
running for
that.
senator, but most
Yeah.
of your senators, remember, two senators from each state represents that state, and then you got the person. See, when you get to your city level, you got your city commissioners and you got your mayors. Then you got the governor of that state. So in your state, you have thousands of mayors if there's thousands of cities. You have thousands and thousands of commissioners because you have thousands of cities and there's probably 5, 10, whatever commissioners. Okay. Then then you have your governor. There's only one governor for the state. That's just like a president of that state. Then those commissioners and those commissioners and stuff can become a senator. Then you have your House of Representatives. Your House of Representatives represent those supposed to represent those people in that state. And the problem is that these people are sitting on these in Congress and they don't represent us. There's so many white people in Congress that we have to understand what Congress is. Congress is a representation of everybody, and the U.S. government is just racist because how can all these white people represent black people? And that's where we're falling short. We don't understand at age 18, you don't need no experience but a vote to become a representative. You got we hear about Maxine Waters. She's in the House of Representatives, but she only represents California. Then in order to be a senator, the senator is the hardest person to be because they require you to have at least 2 years background in government. So these people, they push these super PACs and give these advertisers to push these people to either be your governor, your commissioner, or whatever, or your and then they turn around and they get the experience and then they become the senator because those senators are the ones that's controlling your life. It's not the president. The president only can write executive orders and stuff, but it's the senators that are sitting in Congress okaying and voting on bills. The rest of them vote, but the main bills that go forward are the senators that has the power to do it. So we have to understand that power.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. It's that, and then like I said, and plus you're gonna have to pay some like Dr. Clark Hansen said, you gotta be like the mafia. That what mafia they pay out politicians and judges and
And that's
people
what
like
them
that.
super PACs is really for. Because if
Yeah,
you say you was running and we had a super PAC and you're running for a House of Representatives, you're running for, you running for, we can go around state to state. Like if we had a super PAC, we can go show up um in Chicago. We could show up state to state. A super PAC is just like, hey, if we, but we say we had the money to push you, and then after, say the lady that you talking about that's running, next thing you know, if she want to be senator, hey, we got a super PAC now, we can boost her all over to become the senator. But we need those super PACs so that we can travel state to state promoting the black people that we want up front.
and that's the problem. I'm gonna mention FBA. This is the problem I have with them. Now you got, and we are FBA, but we got all the people who got powerful voices. You know who they are for FBA. You got to start pushing this type of red. Okay, we delineate. That's cool. We need to get, like you say, talk about super PAC, get black people, black business owners to bring their resources together and stuff. Because all this going back and forth, bashing other groups, that ain't gonna get us nowhere. It actually set us back. That's why some people just walking away from it because it's like, man, we
You
up here.
can't walk away from FBA. No, the thing about it is that everybody, the thing about being FBA is recognizing who you are. See, before we said FBA, we were told we were African. So we weren't fighting for these things because we were sending our money over to Africa.
No, I get all that. I'm saying, yeah,
You see,
recognize
but you got some FBAs that's conservative. So it's not about
yeah,
FBA. FBA just say we are here on this land now. What are we gonna do? Some
yeah.
FBA people choose to go be conservative. They choose to be MAGA.
Yeah, what I'm saying that's
FBA
cool.
doesn't mean anything. You're not a group. You're saying this is your land. We have more. See, the problem with what happened was we were claiming Africa while the Africans, Jamaicans, the Asians, and all them were coming in and getting Senate seats. And that's why they're getting stuff. That's why you have the anti-hate Asian bill. This is why Japanese people are getting reparations. Right now, the Congressional Black Caucus should be FBA, but it's filled with black immigrants who
Yeah, that's
have
what
no
I'm saying.
interest in us.
No, I agree with you saying. I'm saying we need to. We okay. FBI already said it's on what we represent. We know we represent our own culture. We are Americans. Now it's time to start changing it. Talking about building super PACs. Nobody not mentioning. I don't hear nobody in FBI talking about building super PACs,
Because
putting
they
money
don't
behind
know.
candidates. They know.
They
They just
don't
don't want.
know.
Some of them profit from just from the word. So that's why I'm like, come on, man. We gotta. Because like I said, Marcel Dixon, Tamara Shealy, all them black people who were running, we didn't put money behind them. That was me and Papa was talking about. They didn't put money behind them. They didn't get no votes and stuff because we were about, the delineation is cool, but we gotta be. We know, like I said, if you don't want to mess with us, you don't want to acknowledge you black, cool. We don't mess with you. We need to worry about the business at hand. That's getting these black
But no, no,
politicians
no. But
off.
look, mind games. Just like Jasmine Crockett, she lost. It's not that black people are only people putting money behind black people are black people. So that's not true. The problem is the other groups are not supporting black candidates because they want to get what they want to get. Those
Exactly that
people in
part.
Congress, just like Joy Reid, and now that they are all being kicked off those from Callooning, now they want to say, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that. The problem is none of these other people are supporting black candidates because the stereotype is that black Americans, see, they already delineated us. That's why when you go up there and you see them, when they get up there, they start saying, oh, African, when it's time for accolades, it's Nigerian, it's Jamaican, it's Ghana, it's this and that. It's not black. So we ain't separate ourselves. They've been separated. They got in office over what we built, and none of them fought for reparations. There's a powerhouse of black people in the government, and they're fighting for immigrants. That is the problem. And right now, our FBA people are the ones that have not been educated because they weren't handed free education and stress-free housing and stress-free communities. You don't see the immigrants in our communities. They have us uneducated and just basically politically dumb. They put the Bible on us while they gave immigrants opportunity. And we have to be the ones that start standing up to our people like, hey, do you know what a super PAC is? This is what we need, blah, blah, blah. Because you have Joy Reid, I had a list, I was looking for it, but there's a list going around. And just because the people are black and sitting in government, you think they're for us, and they're not. Like Roland Martin, he only has one generation himself. The rest of his family is in hate, and hate is Haitian. So they're mad when Trump says, "Oh, we're gonna stop Haitian temporary status." Everybody look at Ilhan Omar. She is African from Somalia, and they people have basically did everything they could for their own people. Nobody is helping get anything for Black Americans. FBA, Solon, the American Indian. It ain't just FBA. If you, because I was on a live today with some people and they were saying that they were just black. Okay, if you're just black American, no matter what we call ourselves from here in America, nobody is doing it. It ain't just FBA. The people who say they black Indian, they're not doing nothing neither.
That's what
So
I'm
it's
saying.
like
Yeah, we all over the place. I'm saying that, and that's why it's a confusion. We unorganized, and that's how people look at us. We got too. It's
it's not
like
that
me and
we're
Papa was saying.
unorganized. It's just that this is our first time standing up, grabbing our identity where it's not tethered onto another race, or we would not have cheered. Do you think those black people got in Congress because white people voted them in? No, black people voted them in, and they turn around and they help their people. Almost all these black immigrants, how did all these immigrants from another country, half of the people, look up the Black Caucus. I want everybody, replay or now, please Google the Black Caucus. Then you're going to see black faces. Then when you go deeper and see that they're from another country, the Black Caucus is not working for the black people anymore. When black people were in office helping black people, that's when we had the best of times from the 70s up until Martin Luther King. Then, when they got rid of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, they started infiltrating us with immigrants. And those immigrants went to fighting for themselves and not us. So we got to understand where the root of the problem lies. The root of the problem lies is that no, we're not organized. We're just thinking that everybody black is our friend, and everybody black that gets in power forgets us. And we have to get that back.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I'm saying like the thing is like how Dr. Clark Anderson said, black people don't have a code of conduct. Like I said, we individualism. That's to me. I'm always say that that's our biggest problem because most black people I talk to, they more worry about themselves and their family, which is cool. You worry about your family first, but you gotta work as a community. You gotta have some kind of code of conduct. You gotta have some kind of rule. Every group got some kind of rule, regardless, because every race beef with each other. And then we gonna have, and then plus we gonna have to get even white people to support us too, because even other groups have them support them. Like the sister that running in Chicago. Now it's my Tennessee. I'm talking about the one who ran for Congress. She got a lot of white support, which is cool. Now she can manipulate them and kind of use it to help have a black agenda. That's what we need because I think it's gonna be. I think black people have to go more conservative for this thing to work because it's not. I mean, yeah, most black people are independent now. Like I said, FBA was powerful when they showed that they took a lot of votes away from Kamala Harris. That was a statement. I will say that I like that. That we should have kept on pushing on that because they know like you're gonna give us something, but we gotta get some. We gotta give us
Yeah,
some
that
black.
was just the
Me,
beginning. That's what I'm
yeah,
saying. We want to, it's kind of like watching a child. What we have to understand is understand our people, and this is how we move. We got to stop looking at our people and saying, dang it, we should be here. We should be there. We're unorganized. No, we're just like a child learning to walk. We're just finding
Mhm.
out our identity last year and this year. So
Yeah.
how do you expect us to be grown people there? We just being able to stand up and say, "Hey, I'm not African. I'm American, and I have rights, and I want reparations." So we're just kind of pulling ourselves from the sticky pot, the sticky pace, and moving up. Now we're here. Now, children. Now it's time to walk. You've been crawling. Now it's time to get up off your knees and do like the baby, and we're gonna wobble. We wobble, and we're trying to pull the milk out your mouth. Now we need to get a little bit stronger. Okay, we showed them we're gonna sit on the couch. We made a powerful statement, not just with Kamala, but through the Chicago red, Philly red, all of this is happening. Now, people, now it's time to get that super PAC. Now let's start talking about it. Even if it's us. See, the thing about it is that just like when you saying they should already have a super PAC. How? When you don't know what you're missing. Black people, we know about Super PAC because now we're talking. Like I said, the people in power know about Super PAC, but they don't want us to put our own candidates because they wanted us to have the candidates that they put in front of us so that they can keep getting the resources they had. And long as we are, as you say, Dr. Carr Anderson say, the designated underclass, long as we there, they can keep putting black immigrant businesses all around us and we never fight. So we right here at the stage where we just kind of getting our legs up. We've been crawling for a long time. We're just now standing up. Now it's time to start speaking in our ear. Hey, this is the year of the super PAC. Now we can start, then once we get the super PAC, how we use it.
yeah. And then plus we gotta understand you gotta move in the shadows. That's one of my biggest things. I always tell people you gotta move in the shadow. I had that conversation with some of the brothers in my nonprofit organization. I'm like, we gotta, and some of the old heads was kind of like, no, we gotta let them know, no, you gotta move the shadows. Chinese make up 3% of the population in America. You never see them campaigning because they use dark money. That's another conversation. But black people ain't even near that
But the
level yet.
Chinese people have a whole open door city right in our face. We ain't got to move in the shadow. Having a super PAC ain't in the shadow. How we gonna move in the shadow and get other people to come along? It's time for us to come out the shadows
You know
like
what I'm
we
saying? Like,
did.
you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? The dark, I'm talking about like dark money. I understand dark money is so basically dark money. What they do is these powerful. Because one thing about it, I mean, we gotta be real. We don't have the capital like these Jews and other people. That's a
But
fact.
how
But
did
the
they
thing is,
get the
Let me ask you a
capital?
question. Let me ask you a question. So when we're talking about the super PAC and putting money behind something, I want to read something. So with APAC, it says I looked up the highest spending politicians that's what the advertisement was with the politicians right now, and it's saying that right now the hotspots, the spending hotspots are California, Texas, Michigan, and Ohio. And between those four, so far $4 billion has already been spent through the month of June this year. $4 billion. So then I asked where financing comes from for political ads. And it says contributions from individuals, corporations, political action committees, and sometimes the government. So my thing is, with all this, social media technology, all this stuff, everybody's following social media on all these different platforms. I don't know why all this money is being spent where we should be able to get the word out in a different kind of manner, because that's what it really is. We don't have $4 billion. We don't want to put it up, and that was just for those four. They were talking about an estimated 10 to almost $12 billion total for 2006
But Queen, think about it. When Kamala Harris was running, we do have it. We did pull it. We just didn't put it in the super PAC because the Democrats keep us behind. They put Kamala in front of us, and what did they say? Black women got behind. What black women got behind doors, and we found out Kamala raised billions of dollars and blew it all.
Right. Never had a problem with that. But people are saying, I've heard a lot of older black women that I deal with as a nurse, like patients, and they're older. They're not stupid people. A lot of them are educated and have some intelligence about them. And I have one lady, and her thing was she was upset with her son because he did not vote for Kamala Harris. She was like, I'm upset because, I raised him. He grew up in this house. So black men, they were mad. Black men, they're saying that black men are upset and they don't want to promote a black woman. So they voted for Trump. You sound crazy. That sounds crazy to me. That's not what's happened. People are spinning this narrative like black men are just so hateful against black women that they just were not going to put this woman in. Like that's not what it is. In all actuality, she wasn't for America, period. She made it clear she was not for black people. So she wasn't for America, period. That's the real deal, and then like you said, when we have, Democrats going to these churches, let's just keep it real. Like we operate off of our emotions and our feelings, especially black people, and you throw church into it, I hate to do the kumbaya thing, but like, that's what it is, where we want to turn the other cheek and forgive and pray, to God that's going to fix it, and pray for the politicians, all that weirdness, and we're not involved. In all actuality, being unlearned means that you don't understand that it says you don't mix church and state. So they have no business even being in the church doing what they're doing. That's not how it works. I don't understand black Democrats when it comes to abortion, and you tie church in there, like that goes against your beliefs. Like, I don't understand the weird thinking that we have. I want to show you guys something really quick. I'm going to share my screen. I want to show you guys something because this is so powerful. It's like a 2-minute clip. I'm going to show you guys real quick. And it makes sense about how we think. So watch this real quick.
John. I thought you said you were going, hey. Yeah.
You guys mute your mic real quick. I want to show you this. Is it up? Oh, hold on. It won't let me bring it up. Never mind. It won't let me bring it up. But anyways, what it was is this elevator experiment, right? And these people, it's like this guy gets in this elevator and there's 4 helmets on the ground. And like one by one, somebody gets in the elevator and they put this helmet on. And the guy that was originally in the elevator is looking like, why are you putting these helmets on in the elevator? And he decides to go ahead and just put the helmet on. He doesn't know why he's putting the helmet on, but he was just going along with what everybody else was doing, like for no reason. And that's what we do. Like, we just see something and we just go with it because we don't want to be the outsiders. We don't want to look like we're not included. And so a lot of times when we're doing that, we don't want to look like we're catering to white people. We don't want to look like we're not with black people. And it's a hard place for a lot of us to be in anymore, just trying to do the right thing. And it sucks when people don't understand, our people don't understand that we are fighting for the collective, a lot of us. And a lot of us don't want to. Some of us are just about family and self, because it's hard enough to be for family and self and just try to get by as a black person. And so to actually take up that cross and stand together as black people, it's I don't know why, but for a lot of people it's difficult. They don't understand the importance of it, the weight of it, the significance, And a lot of times for people, it's a lot. You got weird people doing weird things. And I think some people try to do the right thing and they mean well, and you just don't know no better. Some of these people on social media, they're saying this thing and they're about this, and they just don't know no better. I would like to hope Roland Martin I don't know the thing about him. I hope he really believes what he's saying, because otherwise, God dog, but some people are still following. We did the Al Sharpton thing. People are still following them. You want to go boycott and march, but you didn't even vote for in your own city. You don't even know who's up for office. So why would you even take the time to march? Why would you do that? To do what? Because we're unlearned, like you said. So education is so important. I'm so glad we're having this conversation and we're breaking things down and educating people. We're not trying to tell anybody what to do. There is a call to action, but what looks right for you as a Black community? What looks right for the change that you want to see? And that's where you guys start. I'll land my plane.
What about you, My Games? What you have to say about that?
Oh yeah, I'll just let her cook. But yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, I think we just need to just change it up a little bit. As far as like power is on both sides. When the 2024 election, my partner showed me the data. We the only group that voted 9% for one party. You'll never get real power unless you go on both sides, see what your options are. We gotta have options. We don't have the options as Black people, so we need to weigh our options. Go to the side. They don't give us what we want. We don't mess with them. Just go strictly independent, vote down ballot. That's how it works. You know what I'm saying? They just gotta get with all our Black business owners and stuff. We're gonna have to get some outside sources too, because we don't have the capital in America. Like I said, Jeff Bezos got half of Black wealth, one white man. So we don't even have the type of billionaires like that. There's only like 10 or 15 billionaires out of like almost 800 billionaires in America. And still it's so many wealthy white people it's so many wealthy white people out there that support both sides. One thing about dog money, they like the Koch brothers. If y'all know about the Koch brothers, they got billions of dollars. They support both sides. We gotta learn how to play both sides. So both sides. If we don't know how to do that, we don't get nowhere. We got to learn how to deal with both sides. Like I said, you need white allies. You need some white allies that get on your team and stuff to support you, because Obama just didn't get it because of Black vote. White people support him too. I know it sounds good saying all Black people got him in there, but no, it ain't just Black people. White people supported him too. So you got to get. That's how they did. You got to play the game they play. You know what I'm saying? You got to get them to get on your side too. Because there's some white people support reparations. You just got to get the ones with the money to back you too. So yeah, that's how that works. But yeah, Angie, you been cooking. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think it's so crazy. And like you said the other day, D-May, is like in a side conversation with all of us, where a lot of people had a problem with Ice Cube and who else was it that wanted to sit down and on both sides and talk? Why would you? That's what I'm saying. People have
exactly.
It makes people even with Ice Cube, he might be famous, but like I'm sure it took a lot for him to come up with that, and I'm sure he considered the backlash. I'm sure he didn't think it would be what it was. Maybe he did, but why do we have an issue with somebody, bringing things collectively and having people answer and be responsible for what we're voting for? But everybody was mad about that, and this is Ice Cube and whoever else. So
Dr. Clark Anderson, because I'll cut you off, but he even consulted with Dr. Clark Anderson to put the platinum plan together. So because Dr. Clark Anderson served up on the two Democrat administration, Jimmy Carter and Bill Clinton, he told Black people, you got to be like the mafia, you got to play both sides. It's just how it works. You just can't go with one side. You got to deal with both sides. Like I said, if you look at the Dems, kind of pull it up one day, how even the Mexicans understand that a lot of them are mostly conservative. People don't know that. They act like a lot of them liberals, but they're not. A lot of them are conservative. So it's like, and most Black people got conservative views. It's a book called The Origin of the Black Elite. And I tell people this, even though the boule kind of screwed Black people over, the concept of the boule is what we need to do. It's just they serve the white man. You know what I'm saying? They just was all about their people. They had the right concept. They still let white people dictate them, the white liberal dictate them. That's what the boule messed up at. They start off right. They start out because some of the boule, they conservatives too. They just it's more of them that's liberal, and they kind of like more side with white people. So that was messed up the boule. The boule had the concept of the boule is good. You know what I'm saying? But they just strayed away from what they originally supposed to be about. You know what I'm saying? And that's where we at now. You got the people like Roland Moore and all them the boule, but the original boule was totally different. Read the book called The Origin. You can put in the chat. The Origin of the Black Elite. A good book you can listen to on Audible. You can get the book. It breaks it down. Black people were Republican for a long time. Frederick Douglass was Republican. You know what I'm saying? But black people strayed away from that because when they came with it in 1960s, they came with the whole Civil Rights Act. They thought they was really the liberals were all for us, but that was a plan for them to get our vote for the next 60 plus years. So that's how that all messed up. That's how that's how we got messed up with that. But yeah, the boule concept is good to have because they structure, they got an organization, they a lot of intelligent, rich black people who came together. You know what I'm saying? But they don't do like what other groups do. We should do like what other groups do, but we don't have no kind of code of conduct, and we don't have no kind of we call it honor amongst each other like the other groups. So that's why it started to fall apart. Yeah, that's it.
When was it? Do you all remember? Like there was. I'm looking at it right now. There was a point in time where like there were there was the Congress was ran by a whole lot of black people. A whole lot of black people, and they were ran out by and like threatened with their lives by white counterparts. But they ran. There's a lot. We don't realize the prominence that our people had years ago. Before, being bullied. And ran out, and that's really sad. Since between 1789 and 2025, 186 African Americans served in the House of Representatives. From the first U.S. Congress in 1789 through the 119th Congress in 2003, 198 African Americans served in Congress. I mean, we've had a lot of people, but that's what I'm saying, that we don't realize our history and how we have dominated a lot of areas and just been pushed out. And again, like that kumbaya thing where we just want to turn the other cheek and forgive and put it in God's hands. I think us being docile is what's really gotten us in trouble. And ignorance is definitely bliss. And a lot of people would rather just be ignorant than know the truth, because once you know, it requires a call to action. And it's for a lot of people, it's just too much. I'm just one person, well, what about Martin Luther? And what about Malcolm? All these things where we look at the shortcomings and the tragedies of our leaders, and we don't think that it's worth it, and freedom ain't free. Freedom is not free. It's going to cost all of us something. So never forget that, where we are as Black people collectively is off the backs of our ancestors. So there is an expectation, whether we like it or not. There
Yeah, even
is a respect and a duty to honor that fight.
yeah, even back.
Go ahead.
Now, say even back with the if you remember the movie Hoodlum, that was based on a true story. That even when we came up with the numbers and stuff, we had our own banks and stuff in Harlem, here in Atlanta, Auburn Avenue. The thing was, it's crazy. You had black people that had allies with other black people that wasn't Black Americans, like Madam St. Clair, who ran the banks in Harlem. She was with Bumpy Johnson. All of them can't had a common goal. Like, okay, you might be from the islands, we from America, but we know the Dutch, like Dutch Schultz and Lucky Luciano, and all them trying to put this. It's crazy because the other groups came together. The Irish and Italians, they came together, push out us to take over the lottery and stuff. They call it nigger pennies back in the day. And only reason why we got pushed out because they ran Harlem for like over 10 years. They just didn't have the district attorneys to, and the judges on their side. That's the only thing they didn't have. We didn't know that back then. We didn't know we had to have judges and district attorneys. If we would have did that, we probably still be running the shit now, or we'll still control of the lottery. So that's what happened with that. We were organized back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. It just the point of they made sure they got rid of the people
Yeah,
that
but who is they that made sure? It's like we were organized, we had everything y'all saying, we were fighting, but then when we started letting immigrants come in, I mean, we don't want to admit it. Like I just said, the Black immigrants came in when they don't have a history attached to this land, when they don't have the same fight. They come in here and they fight for other things, and they tell us that we should be grateful because they're coming from a dilapidated country, and then they're getting breadcrumbs and it's been used against us. And then they think that we should be satisfied, and we have been cheering on the people who were supposed to be us, and it wasn't us. There come look at the guy from Nigeria. He bought Madam C.J. Walker's house. He took over the Essence Festival. None of that stuff is representing us anymore. They're collecting our money and funneling it back to their countries. So when you seen that, when we were fighting, when we were organized, when we had us, it's because we had a common goal in mind, and that was to put black people first. At one point, they want to yell Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. Yes, it was black people, but we did that. But in hindsight, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King did not see that our people were going to come in here and divide us. White people didn't divide us as much that we think. The people who look like us divided us so that they can get ahead of us too. Because look at our communities. You got African braiding shops. It wasn't called African braiding when I grew up. We were braiding our own hair, but then we pour our money into these shops. We pour our money into other stuff, and we're bottom of the barrel, always trying to stay ahead when everybody wiped us out. As I said earlier, the Black Caucus is filled with everybody from Jamaica, from Africa, more Africans than Black Americans. When you have people in positions of power, they're not looking at fighting for the same things we were fighting for when we first got those civil rights.
I agree. I mean, and look where people like in politics come from. They don't come from, a lot of them don't come from impoverished places. So they don't
Exactly.
really understand the fight. So for them, they're just everyday people that just got, voted in, and
That
they're
just got a
like, why can't
job.
you pull your book, pull yourself by your bootstraps? They don't, and they really think that. I don't think they're being
Exactly.
assholes. They really think that because you don't understand what it looks like to not have running water, what it looks like not be able to get your children, daycare or get adequate health care. They don't know anything about that. So this is who we're voting in. So when we're voting for people, we really need to do our, background checks. And another thing
Not
with
just that, the people that we're voting for, we voting because they look like skin folk. And they do know what it is not to have running water. That's why I'm not saying flee because it's been used in a derogatory, in a way, but they flee their countries and come over here and they could attach to us and make it look like we got the same struggle. No, you left your country in Africa. You piggybacked off of what our ancestors fought for, and then you're telling the government what we should not have and should have. Most of the people, black people in government that's against reparations are foreigners.
no, I'm talking about the Black Americans. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
You
but I'm
know,
saying the black Americans voted for them because we have been tricked to think that these people had our same interests in mind. And that's where the separation comes from. We can love our brothers and sisters all we want, but the truth is our brothers and sisters from another mother, our cousins from Africa, got in office and forgot all about us and then did not help us. And they want to tell us to shut up because they come in long as they're getting, they came from non-running water, and they struggle is not the same as ours. They
mm,
weren't here when Martin Luther King was marching. There was no immigrants coming over here to sign up for slavery. So when it came from slavery to here where we're at, like y'all said, we ran the government. It wasn't immigrants. We had a common goal in mind. Our own, the people that look like us are the ones that disrupted that common goal a lot. White people do what white people have always done to try to stop us. And there was a lot of white people who wasn't. So there's a lot of white people on our side. But if we got good black candidates that looked out for us and everybody, we would get the white people votes. Of course, we have to do it with everybody, but we also have to understand that we can't be always against what's going on with the immigration system. We're being blamed for welfare, and then when you do the numbers, they're mostly immigrants. We're being blamed for Section 8. When you do the numbers, it's mostly immigrants. Who was in California getting down payment assistance for houses? They come over here as grown people that we don't know what their background is in their country, and they come over here with a clean credit score, pour money in, get a business loan, then they turn their nose on us and say, oh, y'all ghetto, y'all uneducated, y'all blah, blah, blah. No, we really have to look out for us, and we have to tell the truth, and they should tell the truth. I land my plane.
I agree. I agree. And to
Well,
Mace, you said something earlier about like with the independent votes. And what sucks about this, I'll be honest, and I don't really care what anybody thinks that's listening. I was not voting for another Democrat. I'm sick of them, and so I would have loved to vote independent. But in reality, if we don't all think like that, and vote independent, then your vote really don't count because it's not going to be enough. So then what do? You vote for, that's where the lesser of two evils comes in at. And I don't appreciate it. I don't appreciate it at all. I don't. So until we can all get together and say this is my vote and we're going to vote independent, you can't sit it out. Vote independent, and that's what it is. I don't know how it would look, but if the more we think about that, the more we shoot for that, I think it'd be better. And like again, just starting small. I like to see black owned gas stations. Why all these gas stations? If I go by, you can go buy alcohol, cigarettes, gas, t-shirts, perfume, and marijuana at a darn BP right now with owned by Arabs. They don't charge you, they don't do nothing. They sell everything. Why can't we get some black gas stations? Why just things like that? When
Like I said, black don't have
when I say
black people.
the Chinese shop, you know what I'm talking about. That's racist. No, it's a Chinese shop. It's owned by Chinese people, and they sell all black products. That's where I'm talking about. That's where I'm going. The Chinese shop.
My thing is we gotta be consistent. I know we talked about it before that black people been boycotting stuff. Like I said, now I put my people down. I just know how a lot of us are. We're not consistent. That's a problem. It ain't just even with your own family not consistent. I tell you, my family on board on a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to do it because that's a massive, a lot of black people. You can't, even though some may hurt, some of them Chinese business we boycotted, but now down the street, I was there a while ago, I see black women that are getting their nails and stuff done. The crazy part about it, so down the street from me, the Asians called Fine Nails, they got this big, nice ass nail spa. It was a black woman. I used to take my daughters to get their hair product from them when they was in high school. The sister had everything you need. And I went there one time. My youngest daughter, my other daughter, had graduated, and like we were getting the hair products stuff, and she was about to close down. And I'm like, man, what's going on? She said, our people just don't support us. Thing bottom line, we don't support our people. We gotta keep it real. And then now, guess what happened? So a couple months later, the Asians bought that place, and then they expanded their operations and stuff. So yeah, I go buy Beauty Masters. Black women still getting hair shit. And so we got black business and stuff. We shouldn't even have. It shouldn't even took. I hear something in the background. Who that? Okay.
Sorry,
Who that?
that's
Who that? Okay. But at the end of the day, yeah, we shouldn't even. It shouldn't even took us for a black dude or a brother to get unalived by an Asian guy for black folks to support black business. That should be something natural that we do. I support black business all day, but the thing is, if you don't get massive black people to do it, then it's just gonna keep going back and forth. Where we at now? Like I said, and Pablo talked about this too. I know our people. It is what it is. Because most black people don't want to hear it. I talk to the young cats. It's about they don't man. Yeah, that's a whole other conversation. Like I said, I'm not trying to talk negative, but they're not even thinking about that stuff. Like they think about themselves, and what they're gonna be doing. We don't think as a collective group. That's the problem with us. We don't think as a collective group, and other groups see that with us. Yeah, we delineate and stuff like that, but it's still a lot of work in progress. We don't have a lot of time either, just being real. Like we can't say that we taking baby steps because we can't afford to do that because now you got the age of technology taking over now. And we got to get up on that because that's gonna be another problem because then we ain't got no money. We can't make no money. We ain't set up on technology. We're gonna really be left in it. By 2030, you're gonna really see how everything goes and stuff. And we're gonna have to change our mindset on how we do things too. Understanding that you got to stay with technology. Because them Asian kids, they are ahead of the game when it comes to stuff like the Indian kids. They're ahead of the game. We do have smart black kids. My daughter graduated from a STEM school that they had 100% graduation rate. They had like millions of dollars of scholarship. We need more of those type of schools. It felt so good to see them black kids. When they graduated, they would get all them accolades and stuff because. And I understand and I see too. It's a different kind of black people too. Them black people carry stuff different from the average black people and stuff. They didn't look down on all the black people. They just know that we got to tighten up. You know what I'm saying? Because the world moving fast and the world don't care about what we doing, like what we got to do. They're like, okay, you better catch up because if you don't, you'll be lost behind. You'll be left behind and stuff. That's just reality. That's just what it is. And we can't sugarcoat nothing. You know what I'm saying? I talk to my family about this all the time. A lot of them act like they're listening, but they're not listening. You know what I'm saying? And I can't worry about them either. I'm like, I got to worry about the people. We still have to worry about the people that's really on the level we on. And the whole thing about the UFOA, but we said in the beginning, we got to have these sit downs with the ones who want to build with us and stuff, and come together, build super PACs and build a stronger alliance, we're gonna have to do that, or it's not gonna work. 'Cause Black Americans we don't have the capital to do it ourselves. It's a fact. We don't have enough to just do it ourselves. It can't. It don't work like that. I let my plan.
No, and you know what you mentioned, like the Asian technology. Part of that is even us investing and putting stock into those companies and earning money from those companies. You know, as a nurse, I hate to say it, but with COVID, that was a horrible situation. It was horrible. But thinking back on things, it sucks. It really, I hate to say this, but if we would have thought differently, you know, we should have been, you know, investing in, you know, stock for
Oh, of course,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
the PPE, the equipment, you know, the protection equipment, you know, all that stuff. Even like, unfortunately, the vaccines, unfortunately, just where the money is. And you take that
Yep.
money and you invest it in your people, and that's that dark money that we don't want to talk about. You know, I don't want to invest
Hmm.
in the vaccines. Nah, I'm not taking a vaccine, but this is what people are doing. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get some stock in that thing, and I'm gonna take that money
Yeah.
and I'm gonna pour it back into the black community. That's what it is, and we don't want to do that.
Yeah, because you're gonna have to, and you might invest. You know, I'm taking class. I'm almost done my courses. I'm telling you, that's how a lot of these white people, Asian people, getting their wealth through investing. You got to learn how to invest. You got to learn about that stock market. You got to learn about ETLs, bonds, and all that stuff. And I taught my kids about this stuff, and you're gonna have to do that. How Warren Buffett, and all these guys came to power and stuff. You know what I'm saying? We black people don't want to have them kind of conversations. That's it's now. I am with a group that do trading and stuff. They understand it. They mindset totally different. They get money, but the thing is, when you get majority of us to think like that, because a lot of us, when we're trying to retire, a lot of us are going to be working for the rest of our lives. I see all these old black people, 60, 70 years old, doing security jobs. You shouldn't be working all your lives and stuff. You know what I'm saying? We got to learn we got to learn about finances too in our community. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We spend money on the wrong
And
stuff.
that's it right there. We gotta
Yeah,
learn instead of, and it's like you can't expect, just like y'all say, oh, if I should have did this, I should have did that. My thing is we weren't taught, like I said in the beginning, to do this. So how we gonna have an army of people and we want to have faith when we be like, yeah, 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 I want y'all to fight, but y'all ain't organized, y'all ain't this, y'all ain't that. The point is, how do you expect them to be anything when they haven't been taught to be anything? So the problem is, like you say, we instead of saying that, we got to say our people have to learn to get along. Our people have to relearn how to do this, because it was a generation gap where they mass incarcerated our people. So look at what's been raising our people: rap, dysfunctional music. And I feel like if we weren't on a track to do better, we wouldn't have had to flip Chicago red. We wouldn't have had to sit on the couch. So we're learning. We want to be at another place. Yes, I want to see my people there, but I have to look at reality. Our reality is that we're learning, and then each one teach one. Let's go back to that. When we start having nonprofits out here, we got to start teaching. Let's get our people back to stop the individualism and let them understand how you've been programmed to destroy yourself. We can't put our people down and expect them to fight. I lay my plane.
I agree. You know, something else too, with especially with social media, we've got to stop being angry when we feel like people take our talking points. So, like for instance, if Queen Tina is talking about reparations right now on her platform, and I'm listening to Queen Tina talking about this thing, or D May is talking about something, and I go back and I do a live about the same thing. Well, Queen Tina shouldn't feel like, well, she's taking my talking points, like because everybody don't watch everybody. So if I have the information, you know, we have different audiences. There's nothing wrong with sharing the information. There's nothing wrong. You know, there's no reason to reinvent the wheel. You know, give credit where credit's due. But we all got to do the work. So it doesn't matter where it comes from. The truth is the truth, and we got to get over that. And I'll lay my plane.
oh yeah. I think we can end it like that because yeah, we was cooking the night. So
Yes.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah,
Basically, like y'all said, each one teach one. And that's, that's all it is. We all just gotta we gotta teach our people better. That's it. Our
exactly.
people are not, we do admit our people are not where they need to be, but we gotta get our people there.
Fact.
Absolutely. Love it.
All right, we out.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.